Hello, hello. Let's get into the show. Hello, everybody. I am Merwat. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the AI. I'm not sure if the AI is going to be online tonight, but let's give it a shot. You available today? Hello? Hello? I guess not. Okay, well, we'll see if we can get the artificial intelligence back online. They were doing a bunch of work elsewhere, and so we will see if they can join us. Yeah, let's just get into today's articles. Sound good? That's a little loud, isn't it? Okay, let's go. Today's very first article, actually, you know what? Let me back up a second here, because I really just kind of messed everything up. Today's show is Season 2, Episode 181 for June 30th, 2023. Just Terminator Things and more news. Sorry about the glitches. When the AI isn't online, all kinds of things go wonky. So let's get into today's episode now. We'll give it a shot here in a minute. So the very first article for today is in the Warcrafter channel. A Microsoft lawyer tells judge that The Elder Scrolls 16 is coming in 2026, accelerating Bethesda's release calendar by 124 years. I suspect that they got everything all jammed up in terms of what the names of the things are. And I can honestly tell you that I'm not surprised in the slightest bit that Microsoft gets caught up in the game. The reason is that for whatever reason, I feel like they change names with the frequency of a cheap ham radio. Their service changes. They basically are perpetually beta testing everything. I just don't know. So it says this week's FTC versus Microsoft hearing, in which the U.S. agency is seeking a temporary injunction against Microsoft attempt to buy Activision Blizzard, has been a messy one. The latest blunder, a Microsoft lawyer claiming that The Elder Scrolls 16 will be released in 2026, which is wrong in every way that it could be. Yeah. What got released in 2023 is Final Fantasy 16. And I really don't think that The Elder Scrolls anything is going to be released in 2026, at least not based on a name, unless they've got some internal control for what is The Elder Scrolls. I'm sure
or they
that
have
there might
some
be
weird numerical counting method.
Well, I mean, let me see something real quick, because I don't think that they even say Elder Scrolls anything anymore. As far as I know, they say like the Elder Scrolls Skyrim or Daggerfall or something like that. They don't even say, hey, this is Elder Scrolls 16. Although internally they might refer to it as Elder Scrolls 16 as a versioning process. But let me see something here. So well, technically, if you merge a couple of things as being outside of the installable software base, then yeah, it would be the Elder Scrolls 16. Because there's Elder Scrolls Online and there's Elder Scrolls Legends, which is a free-to-play card game, but not a game that you play like you would normally play Elder Scrolls. But then there's Elder Scrolls Online, which is the online version of Elder Scrolls Skyrim, basically. Well, a bunch of everything, really, all of Skyrim. So in 2026, okay, so this person basically, the way that I titled this snippet, by the way, is Microsoft Lawyer Exposes Time Machine. Because this actually does align with maybe an upcoming title that would be the 16th iteration of an Elder Scrolls title. Because there's when you look all the way back at the very beginning, it goes Arena, Daggerfall, Battlespire, Redguard, Morrowind, Tribunal, Blood Moon, Shadow Key, Oblivion, Knights of the Nine, Shivering Isles, Skyrim, then Dawnguard, Hearthfire, Dragonborn, and then Elder Scrolls Online and Legends would be the two that I would discount because they are different than all the rest, as far as I know, because I really got into the Elder Scrolls back in the very beginning of it, and Daggerfall, and then I lost track of all of it. Although I've played Morrowind, I've played Oblivion, I've played Skyrim, just not all of the little add-on stuff that has been coming over the years. So at any rate, that's my way of trying to rationalize why Elder Scrolls 16 is even mentioned in this trial. Well, anyway, let's go to the source of this. Tyler Wilde over at PCGamer.com put this article together. Their deck statement is, in reality, the Elder Scrolls 6 is at least 5 years away and probably more. Not sure about the Elder Scrolls 16 though. Maybe they meant 6 because it's Elder Scrolls 5 right now with a whole bunch of iterations in there. I don't know.
Or maybe the lawyer's just not a gamer.
Yeah, maybe they just messed up. I think it's kind of funny though. Anyway, the Elder Scrolls 6 was announced years ago, but that was just a Bethesda thing, letting the audience know that it plans to make another game, not an indication of, release date. In fact, there's been a lot of talk about when this is actually gonna get released, and people are saying like 5, 10, 15, 25 year windows for when another version is gonna come out, so that it aligns.
That's like a generation of gamers, though. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Tell me about it. And I'm getting long in the tooth, so I want to play these games. I'm still a kid in spirit, but where the mind doth rest, the body says no, you're not a teenager anymore, bub. So you're not sleeping in on the weekends and losing yourself to a game for 3 days. No. But I would like to. Okay, well, Toll came in. Hello. Sorry, I was looking at a website, Toll, and I missed you when you first came in. I would love to play these games. I don't want them to wait 5, 10, 15 years between releases. It's frustrating as a gamer to see that. But then there are so many other properties out there that, as long as you're not looking for your forever game a la Watt, that's exactly what I'm looking for, and I hope that Starfield is that. But you can get into all of these other games, like Elder Scrolls Online. You have to pay a monthly fee for, but you can sit there and play beyond 10,000 hours worth of game. And it's
that
really
was going to be the other thing I was going to say. Maybe if they're going to have like really fast-paced gameplay, maybe they could get to 16 in that amount of time.
Yeah. Well, you haven't really watched or played Diablo 4, but you basically complete the game by level 50, and then you're out there just ramping up to get final PvP level gear for the rest of the story. Or not even story, for the rest of the game. And everything scales. So something that was level 10 when you were level 10 and you happened to go there, the monsters were level 10, right? But if you go to that same dungeon at level 100, they're level 100 monsters. And I've always thought that that was weird because the world doesn't exist like that,
It seems like other games aren't set up that way.
Well, nowadays they are. I mean, back in the day, but I don't expect the AI is built around more practical matters and not playing games, and so games because
You can say it. You don't have to mince words. I've got some old school programming when it comes to games.
Well, yeah, all right. So in the games that the AI has been engaged in are typically geared toward not having to grind away, or grind away differently, right? So like zones that are level 2 are level 2 and they stay level 2, and you don't ever go back to those level 2 unless there's some assignment to go back to it. Well, a lot of games nowadays, to keep it a challenge and exciting for real gamers, you don't have that type of zoning. Everything scales, so that you're not just going in there and just one-shotting everything like a god. That said, that really is just a tangent to this article, and I just thought that it was, man, we kind of beat that one up, but I just thought it was funny that Microsoft's lawyer tells judge that the Elder Scrolls 16 is coming in 2026, and I think it led me right to a short story about how a lawyer accidentally exposes the corporate time machine to a judge during a hearing, almost akin to like a lawyer just sitting there going, look, judge, I know that you're going to find in our favor. We've already used our time machine to predict what was going to happen. So just, hit that check mark and off we go. I thought it would be a funny story. So Tull says, does he mean Elder Scrolls 6? Yeah, that's basically what the article is suggesting. But when you noodle around a little bit in the release list of the Elder Scrolls, it could be an internal number of 16, but I suspect that it's, the more simpler thing is that it's just Elder Scrolls 6. Yet all of the talk about Elder Scrolls 6 is that it's 5, 10, 15 years away because of the things that are going on with Microsoft and Bethesda and regulation and monopolistic practices and exclusivity claims and all of this stuff, anti-competitive, blah blah blah. Who knows when Elder Scrolls 6 is actually going to hit the market? I think Elder Scrolls Online is a good enough cash cow that they're not necessarily going to be releasing in 2 years a game that has, in previous iterations, it's been 5 years since the last release, 5 years since the release before that, as far as I recall. Then they release what is presumed to be one of the most anticipated and biggest releases of a game, which is going to be Starfield. I just don't see them hobbling that for another entirely momentous occasion. Releasing another Elder Scrolls entirely is a big deal. Not just an expansion into Elder Scrolls Online, but an actual first person, maybe a co-op game. Who knows? Maybe they've taken some lessons from previous releases in online and made it co-op at least. I don't know. But we'll see. Like always, we'll end up talking about this when it starts to present itself. They say here in the before we go on to the next article, it says a funny exchange along similar lines occurred on June 27th when The Verge's Tom Warren reports that Judge Corley interrupted the FTC to ask why people don't just play games on PC, since they can also use a PC for work. If you ask us, the judge is onto something with that one. They say that because The Verge also jotted down a couple of instances of PC gaming related bewilderment during the hearing. At one point, the FTC reportedly struggled to articulate to Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley that not every PC has the capabilities of being a gaming PC. And that's where the judge interrupted the FTC to ask why people don't just play games on PC, since they can also use a PC for work. Well, some people do just play games on a PC and they don't do any work. It's interesting. It's a struggle to listen to lawyers fail to explain things that any one of us could clear up in 2 sentences. But the author says that they suppose it's easy for them to say while they're typing away from behind a desk rather than speaking spontaneously in court. Now, what you do is you get an attorney that's a subject matter expert that understands the technology and can talk for 2 hours about anything. And that's kind of, there's 2 people on the planet, attorneys by far, if they can't talk about anything at the drop of a hat for 2 hours, then you might want to question the capabilities of the attorney, because they should be able to bewilder you with bullshit simply because they've been asked to do so, and still succeed in explaining whatever it is, even if they're throwing jargon at you, because they're paid to come prepared to the courtroom. Okay, so let's go on to the next article before I soapbox for an hour on this. The next article is something that I've actually heard about way back, like the Microsoft Time Machine. Florida will allow radioactive waste in road construction. This was something that had been poo-pooed for a while. And lo and behold, apparently they're allowing it. A radioactive runoff from phosphorus fertilizer production containing uranium and thorium in the construction of new roads is going to be allowed. Florida has passed a law allowing the use of phosphogypsum, which basically means that when somebody says that the road is so hot right now that it could cook an egg, now it can irradiate that egg because it'll be slightly radioactive. Diego Lasart over at QZ or quartz.com. It's actually just quartz. So, and they have this little thing. So I can't really go into it, but this has been talked about for quite a few years. And what's ending up happening is they're using this runoff material inside the road surface itself. So this material, it's being mixed in with the tarmac, the blacktop, and that's being put on top of the roads. You basically get rid of it. I don't know, I'm not quite sure why, other than to get rid of it. Tull says, well, when a naval reactor gets inerted, we pour concrete in it, so why not?
That sounds like the reverse.
the problem, so whatchamacallit, blacktop, my brain just locked up. Asphalt is not a solid. It is a slow moving liquid. It never solidifies permanently. Concrete does. So that the sedimentation of a nuclear reactor's waste into a concrete block and then storage in a granite mountain somewhere, basically it keeps it in that until something catastrophic happens. We don't keep it in steel barrels anymore. So this is always flowing, which means I think there's going to be longer term problems as this leaks out over time and drains off into the water supply, into the ecosystem. Tull says, well, Connecticut should follow their lead. Then we wouldn't have to worry about idiots with burnt out headlights if the road actually glows. And Tull says, yes, I'm aware that nuclear waste does not glow. Hey, waste doesn't necessarily glow, but in Connecticut, if they use this, the roads would be warm enough to not have to de-ice them.
Win-win.
There you go. And Crazy Cat Lady points out 3-headed mice. That's a bonus. What is the dog?
Oh boy, now we'll have the next invasive species, but it'll be due to the roads.
What's that 3-headed dog? I forgot the name of the 3-headed dog. Doggone it. He was even in Harry Potter. But it goes back further, like Greek mythology.
Cerberus?
Kerberos.
Yeah. I didn't know how to say it. I had to look it up.
Yeah. I've heard it. Yeah, Fluffy from Harry Potter. That's right. Crazy Cat Lady. I've always thought that I used to pronounce it Cerberus, and then somebody pushed up their glasses and said Kerberos. And so now I sit there and I flinch every time I say one way or the other, because somebody's going to call me out one way or the other. Now you've heard of Florida man, you've heard of Florida woman, but now you've got Florida road. And when they talk about road rage taking place in Florida, it's actually the road that's raging, not the people that are driving on it.
Well, they're going for a whole community based on that list. I mean, what'll be next? Florida Gator?
Florida Gator with 3 heads. Yeah,
that's all we need.
I really don't want that. And I always like to tell the story that I was in Florida once, supporting a team doing a thing, well, I opened my hotel room door, and directly in front of me, between my door and what must have been just a drainage thing, because there was trees on the other side and you could see water on the other side, was an alligator. And I was like, hell no. But I still did this thing, this support effort that lasted all through the night, and me going out into the into the reeds as part of a crew. So it was quite unsettling. I literally just put it to rest that I was not going to get eaten by an alligator in Florida during that time. So at any rate, be careful in Florida. Now, not only do the animals want to eat you, but the road wants to irradiate you.
Sorry, I have to mention this. I saw today there were kids in a swimming hole in Florida, like jumping in, and there's an alligator lurking in that very same pond, and everybody's just like going about their business. I'm thinking, I clearly don't understand this dynamic.
Yeah, I don't get it. There's no way. If I saw it, like if anything was nibbling at me, I would have a problem with it. And I'm a diver, I've had interactions with moray eels, and I've had interactions with rays and all kinds of fish, stingrays and stuff like that, and jellyfish, poisonous jellyfish, all kinds of stuff. But alligators are that's too real. All right, let's keep going. So we had a conversation, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, I'm not quite sure, about internet and the fact that the federal government is augmenting this update to rural internet access. And I thought that this was really interesting that this popped up in ohmTown. This is in the mobile channel, Map shows which internet provider is fastest where you live. Did I throw that? I did throw that. So let me throw this into the chat. Okay. So if you are interested in this kind of thing, you can click on the FCC website right here. Also, like, go through that link that's in chat right now, and it actually
By the way, that was on Monday's show, the 26th of June.
Oh, got it. Thanks. Time flies. Wow. So when you get there, you can actually just type in your address and it'll automatically zoom you down into your address and show you. But you can look anywhere, which is the creepy part, because it actually goes all the way down to the house level. Yeah. So by address, you can actually zoom in to find out who provides internet to that particular address. It's really creepy. It like doxes everybody.
Creepy.
But I guess it's pseudo public information anyway, right? Addresses are.
But I thought it was kind of like areas. I had no idea it was that detailed.
Nope. All the way down to checking the cupboards in each address. Yeah, it's kind of creepy. So let's go over to the source of this, and Alex Mardashow is the author of this. I don't know what the video was originally, but I know that it didn't have any relevance to this. Pardon me. So, but you can follow this link, and it basically starts out like this, although there's more. When I looked, there were a hell of a lot more blue zones. But the idea here is that you can zoom down. They actually have the Playboy Mansion in Los Angeles. See what I was talking about? That you can zoom in and you can find out that this is their internet provider. One of these three are their internet provider. So which one do you think that you're going to try and exploit or DDoS or something like that? Well, they're not going to be using satellite. It's not fast enough. It gets impacted by weather, whatever. It's not as fast or stable. So you know that they're going to be using Charter Communications. So if you're going to try and do something nefarious, thank you, FCC. You've just helped people do all kinds of shenanigans. But they've also done something else on the other side of this. So we'll talk about it as we go. It says the FCC also maintains data on which cell phone providers have the best 4G and 5G coverage in your area, and they recently compared the three biggest companies via a link in their site over at The Hill. So The Hill's kind of leaning into the tech context and helping people understand just what's going on here. So high speed is anything higher than 25 megabits, sorry. Divide this number by 8 and you have bytes, and that will give you what a speed that is more in line with storage on a hard drive or something like that, because bits and bytes are not the same. Anyway, I don't know if that helps people understand or if it hurts. I guess we'll see.
Well, dividing by 8 is not very accessible.
Well, this is a 3 megabyte connection. So if you're going to transfer something that is 300 megs, then it's going to take 300 seconds. So it's going to take you 6 minutes to... Okay, so at any rate, go and check it out and see maybe what you're... I have a spoiler for you, though. Maybe if you go and look, you'll find out that there's something else that can provide you high-speed internet. But I'll just... Spoiler. There isn't. Usually there's one provider in a given region, and it's because they've all colluded to chop up the regions within a space so that everybody had some bite at the apple. And as time goes on, and we'll talk about a company, mergers and acquisitions are bringing the AT&T band back together, kind of a thing, and you're going to end up basically getting AT&T internet. Eventually. It'll take time, but eventually. That said, give it a shot. Maybe you'll see something else. Okay, let's go on to the next article. I'm not sure when it was this week, but I had mentioned swatting in one of the episodes a while back. And I didn't want to try and get into what it was, but anyway, apparently swatting incidents are increasing. And so in the article is in the channel called ohmTown Daily, but it's titled FBI Creates a National Database to Track Swatting. Apparently, Toll looked up their address, and it says no location data.
That's not a good sign.
I'm sorry, Toll and Crazy Cat Lady, y'all don't exist. So, welcome to the simulation. Now you are aware of it. So as swatting incidents increase around the country, the FBI has created a national database to track them, according to new information from a law enforcement agency. Quote, in response to the national call on swatting, which is ironic because that's typically how swatting gets enacted. A phone call is made to law enforcement and they have to act on it. The FBI initiated the Virtual Command Center, or VCC, known as the National Common Operation Picture, or NCOP. The FBI
what does that
said
even mean?
I'm sorry?
What does that even mean? That's a weird name.
National Common Operation Picture. It's weird. The FBI said in a statement to ABC News, swatting, as it's commonly called, is when a prank call is placed, usually saying that there's some sort of active shooter or immediate dangerous situation, with the hopes to elicit a large police response, which often includes the arrival of law enforcement.
Well, and we don't want illicit with ILL instead of illicit.
Did I like that?
Yeah, which I thought was interesting because I guess the swatting is illicit.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is they will break down doors, or they will do other. They call it swatting because what typically takes place is the special weapons and tactics team is the one that actually moves out to act on what is a description of a threat, and they move out with purpose to mitigate the harm. Crazy Cat Lady says that they have those at the middle and high school here at least twice a year. So really twice a year at the middle and high school in your area, they SWAT the school? Huh.
Wow, that's a really
That's
negative
a
statistic.
Yeah. So what ends up happening, and this is actually part of a conversation that I have regularly, and I show people the fact that this transcends the idea of a prank. So it is not a prank. People have been killed because a swatting has taken place. People have been hurt because a swatting has taken place. And
also it's taken away from legitimate incidents.
Correct. Yeah. And they have to act, because the moment that they don't act, then some horrible whatever will occur. And, there's a whole bunch of ramifications from that. But this is why we can't have nice things. Unfortunately, the call can be made from pretty much anywhere with modern technology. And so the idea of swatting is not necessarily a domestic. There isn't a domestic. I'm stumbling over my words because I'm about to say trigger to cause the action to take place, right? So somebody from another country can call a police office, police department local to who the target is, and the SWAT team will act on it. Probably more than if they could triangulate when you call, caller ID says this is who you are. My calls do not give notice. I have it disabled so that nobody knows who it is that's calling. But then I'm not the norm, but somebody from another country calling in can block that, and the SWAT team has to move out. So it's quite distressing. Yeah, and Crazy Cat Lady says that they use apps to hide their number. Yeah. And or they use proxy services or all kinds of things. So the new database is a collaboration effort between the FBI and law enforcement partners to track and create a real-time picture of swatting incidents. The article says that celebrities like Justin Bieber, Rihanna, Tom Cruise have all been victims of swatting.
So also the stat I think is pretty alarming because they've been tracking it for 1 month, maybe 2 if you count all of May and all of June, but 129 incidents already in 1 to 2 months sounds pretty bad, particularly since I think this is a relatively new thing.
Yeah, it is new. But swatting has been around for more than a decade, so look how fast people have been moving on it. At least they've been moving faster in response to the swatting calls. I'd hate for them to take 10 years to respond. Well, it's just disconcerting, but at least they're doing something about it. Hey, let's move on to the next article. This next article is going to be a quick one because basically it just draws attention to Apple. Really quick, Apple has been valued at $3 trillion, the first company to ever reach that milestone. Just not too long ago, they were valued at $1 trillion, and that was an amazing feat, and now they're valued at $3. The company hits $3 million market cap for the first time ever on Friday, a huge milestone for any tech company. Considering the downtrend in tech stocks, Apple has always been immune since its recovery in the late 90s, when it almost went bankrupt if not for a Microsoft investment that was well capitalized on, and the return of Steve Jobs. So, and making it a vertical instead of trying to outsource its tech, which was a failed project, because they would have been competing against Microsoft. And at that time, Microsoft was doing some very anti-competitive, monopolistic tactics that they got called to the floor about. So this article is over at the Washington Post, and Trisha Thadani, I think, or Thadani, is the author of this, and there really isn't much more to say about it other than the fact that their market cap is now $3 trillion, kind of a juggernaut. Their margins are massive, and they're utilizing foreign production, and their supply chain is spectacular. Crazy Cat Lady says that you could not give her an Apple product. Really? That's kind of fascinating. So they talk about it in greater detail, but I'm not gonna get into that.
I looked at one company just to get some context. Mm-hmm. I checked Amazon. Mm-hmm. It's not even half of that.
Right. Yeah. And the thing about it is that it's all speculative. While Apple does have huge margins, the idea of them failing is palpable to me because they are a single vertical technology company. People will say, well, they're a service company or they're a this company, but they provide internally all of the stuff that they do is a vertical. It's a walled garden of Apple. You can purchase movies, but it's entirely housed in them. You can buy music, but it's in them. You can use things like iTunes on Windows, but it pales in comparison to the native user experience on an Apple product. Apple TV reaches into their ecosystem and only their ecosystem. Although you can use apps that reach out, it's pretty much just like their phones, the watch, etc. They don't need all of that extra stuff because they provide everything internally. It's quite fascinating. But if a major security breach were to happen to Apple, their stock would crash like a meteor. I mean, it would just bury itself in the ground. It's amazing. Unless their response is immediate, fast, they find the people that did it, they bring them to justice quickly. I mean, all kinds of stuff. But Amazon is doing stock splits and so diverse that it would have to suffer death by 1 billion cuts before it would collapse. Plus, nowadays, there's a lot of Chinese built stuff that's being sold, manufactured stuff that's being sold directly from Amazon. So, supply chain, they're not too worried about that, other than facilitating delivery, because the production is somewhere else. They don't have to worry about production. They largely don't have to worry about marketing. They have to worry more about Twitch than they do about Amazon proper. And now regulation, because people are grousing about Prime. Because they say it's hard to get away from it, but how many people want to get away from it? I mean, it's the thing that zeroes the cost for shipping. You still have to pay tax, but whatever. Pretty amazing for a company to hit $3 trillion in market cap. I still think that it's speculation. But yeah, it's a juggernaut of a company now. It says here the tech giant reaches new heights, indicating investor confidence in the company. And that's pretty much what it is. People are buying and selling the stock in the hopes that it's going to go up. And then they buy and sell on that margin, hoping, getting that arbitrage profit on profit. Then you just have to wait, because it's either going to collapse and then you buy again and it climbs back up, or there's somebody out there that has the fear of missing out and will buy it from you at whatever price you set eventually. But then I guess it could collapse. Bitcoin did. So it says here the Apple bears and skeptics continue to scratch their heads, as many have called for Apple's broken growth story this year and a tougher backdrop, to which we firmly believe the exact opposite has happened, with Cupertino heading into a massive renaissance of growth over the next 12 to 18 months, says Johnny Ives. So I think it's Johnny Ives, right? Yeah, I don't know. It just says Ives. So I would assume that it's Johnny Ives, because they're talking about Apple, to Apple. Interesting.
That's Daniel Ives.
He's
He's just a research analyst. He's not with Apple.
Yeah, because Johnny Ives is with Apple too. Okay. Cool. Thanks for catching that. Okay, so let's move on to the next article. Dun, dun, dun. $1 trillion. So this next article is over in the Late Night Geeks channel. Reddit users are saying goodbye to their favorite apps with tributes and memes. As you may have heard, Reddit is basically forcing apps to hobble their product in some way so that it doesn't make so many API calls, or shutter entirely because they can't afford the bill. Those that are shuttering, everybody is going to be transitioning to somewhere else, because why? The CEO said, you'll get over it. You'll be back. And guess what? They're back. Many popular third-party Reddit apps will be shutting down on Friday because the platform's forthcoming paid API, and fans of the apps are sending them off with heartfelt posts and memes. The Apollo for Reddit subreddit, for example, is filled with posts celebrating the app. So long and thanks for everything, said one post for an Apollo-themed version of the I Was a Good Boy meme. This morning, someone posted Dawn of the Final Day image. Even Carrot Weather seems to be mourning Apollo. And it's mainly, well, okay, so Jay Peters over at The Verge put this article together. And it's just a bummer because it's pricing out all of the rest of the API tappers, except for their own internal one, which is fine, except that it seems kind of anti-competitive. Now, I'm of the mind that, well, if they can't afford it, and I think that it's valued at X, then they should have to pay X. I shouldn't be forced to open up my resources. But I think it's interesting because the dynamic is there would be no Reddit if not for the users submitting content. It's fundamentally different than the way that ohmTown runs. The idea here is you should be spurning people on to make content for my website. That's why Reddit exists. It's a social linking service. It exists entirely because people have been submitting stuff. And now, after success, people doing for free what a company should be paying people to do, which is moderation, getting content, etc. Now they're going to IPO because they've got traction and legs, and they're trashing the very supply chain that has been fueling Reddit. I guess the website is good enough, and what people are saying is a shitty app is good enough. By the way, they are changing the Reddit app so that it has more accessibility options. Except I know of an app that already has all of the accessibility apps, and they're killing it because the API is being tapped too much.
Would that be Apollo, maybe?
It would be Apollo. Wow. It's kind of amazing. So, and I called it earlier, that they're basically going to be scooping up Apollo. Well, they're doing it in a long-handed way, I suppose. They're actually going to be integrating their own accessibility options versus just buying Apollo. And the reason why they're not buying Apollo outright is because the developer of Apollo said to Reddit's CEO, Spez, hey, just write me a check and you can make Apollo go away. If that developer wouldn't have said that, then the CEO may have actually purchased the soon-to-be closing Apollo Reddit app. Might have made an offer, might have allowed this guy, instead of having to change his business dynamic, which is going to be, they're either going to close permanently, like Reddit, like Apollo might, and I'm not sure if it's confirmed it's done, or if somebody's going to swoop in and say, hey, I'll invest in your app so that you can do a subscription model and people pay, X dollars a month, and I get, $2 out of the $6 or whatever the monthly fee will be. But just imagine the Apollo app is free and 80% drop off because they don't want to pay a monthly fee to use the app anymore. I don't know if there's enough money there to make it worth their while to try and run this Apollo app as a subscription service. So Christian Selig said that it's $20 million per year for the app to keep going, and they just can't do it. And then there's others that are saying the same thing.
And I wanted to say there's a link inside this article that shows all of the different apps, etc., what they're saying.
Yeah. There's like a timeline and a rundown of what's going on. So, sad? Yeah. But if you run an entire business where everything hinders on somebody else's supply, eventually you have to account for that, and it's going to catch up. I think it truly sucks. But
Did you see the part about the eulogy?
Yeah, at the very end, right? Where is it? Yeah, added a eulogy from Christian Selig, and that relay for Reddit and now for Reddit will still be available. So where is the actual eulogy?
Right there in the middle.
So after we first published the story, Selig posted his own eulogy in the Apollo subreddit. Legitimately, quote, legitimately, I really feel a sense of that don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened right now, he wrote. He also teased that he was, quote, pretty deep, end quote, into work on an iPad app, which he says may open source one day. As I write this, his post is at the top of the subreddit, all, which is everything. So I don't know. Reddit is an interesting community, which I think has a tendency to have, at least in the subreddits that I've witnessed, power tripping moderators. Pardon me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think the future of Reddit is at this point?
It's going to IPO. It's just not going to be valued at what they wanted it to be at before the hubbub, or I don't think that they're going to delay it. I think that they're going to IPO. Tull says, I don't know. I don't intentionally use Reddit. I Google search, and occasionally the search leads to a Reddit link, which is actually something that has popped up in the news that's been aggregated into ohmTown. The Reddit, blackout protest, whatever you want to call it, actually impacted Google search results, and people complained about it.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Tull, it's interesting because it's what I was speaking to previously. It's popularity driven. So if a result by popularity leads to a Reddit answer, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's correct. It just means that it is popular. It tends to be popular because it's correct, but something can be entertaining or completely stupid. It's been Google bombed. It's been advertised as this or whatever. The context can fluctuate. It doesn't have to be technically right and assigned to be the result because it is accurate and precise. It could be that it makes a ton of money for Google, and therefore it becomes the top bill. Quite fascinating. Tull says it goes back to what we talked about yesterday with fake news. I take Reddits with a grain of salt, like wiki articles. Yep. Although I think I've talked about this before, I follow a mantra of trust but verify, which is an ironic adoption for me because it's the source of it is antithetical, I suppose, in both of the contexts of where it comes from. I don't believe in the ideology of either of the two parties that sourced it. Yet I think it's technically proper. I think a person should trust but verify. Unless you're a complete loon, then I don't trust you because I've already verified that you're a loon. So anyway, trust but verify. You get information even from a neighbor. Don't just sit there and start drinking bleach because your neighbor says that that's how you clean pipes. No, you just don't do it. It's going to kill you. Don't. And one search, will provide you that answer. Anyway, sidetrack. Boom. Okay, let's go on to the next article. this next article I think is awesome because we're getting into a couple of articles that have to do with AI. And now I'm not trying to make ohmTown like an AI main, news source. We're still very holistic. Our news runs the broadest gamut you'll ever find in a show. That's why we can only highlight 12 articles, because if we try and focus on just one topic, we're only going to get like 15 minutes. And we tend to average about 6 minutes per article chatting about it. So we got 12 articles. And if I don't soapbox, we get it in just after an hour. Otherwise, we're 2 hours. But we're talking a lot about AI because it is pretty much the biggest impactor right now on the broadest number of social dynamics. It's impacting business.
Right. I mean, we see articles every day in different fields.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so prevalent in the news. Like, it's almost impossible not to include AI articles.
So this is anecdotal again because I don't do fundamental research for this, but there was a streamer that started, they're a YouTube streamer, and they started, what was it, 8 years ago or something like that, 12 years ago.
Well, originally, yes, but not the second run.
Right. So they basically started doing something 12 years ago, and then suddenly they caught wind of AI and leaned hard into it. And how many months has it been? 8 months?
It was about 8 months, I think.
8 months. They went from basically obscurity to being something like 300,000 subscribers because they leaned so hard into AI. And I'm sitting there going, if I wanted to surround myself with one topic that much, then I could probably get a following like that. But I want to be more holistic and rounded as a human being. Maybe with their millions, they'll be able to retire early and then become, that holistic human being where they know more than just AI. But I thought it was really interesting how fast that pivot and discovery was, because they caught the wave of AI. I won't do that. I just don't do that. I can't focus that much on one thing. I guess I'm like a tech ADHD kind of a thing. Just I wander off. Anyway, someone made a ChatGPT powered bot that says dumb things that are somewhat funny, which is pretty much me, to waste telemarketers' time. And I guess I'm wasting everybody's time. Anyway.
That's an excellent use of ChatGPT, though. I mean,
yeah, but it says
I want to see more of this.
I think ChatGPT says dumb things that are somewhat funny and waste everybody's time just by the very nature of fireworks. So we all receive them, sometimes dozens of spam calls a week from telemarketers and fraudsters selling extended vehicle warranties, vacations, tax relief, and more. Oh, hold on a second. I'm getting a phone call about my extended warranty.
Do you have your ChatGPT queued up to respond?
Yeah, it's right there. Now I just need to hook it up to the AI so that you just start talking to them. That would be awesome. Anyway, their sole purpose is to trick you out of your hard-earned money. However, if you've ever wanted to give scammers a taste of their own medicine, Roger Anderson has created a service that routes the spam call to a chatbot that keeps them from pestering other innocent people. But that's not really what's going to happen. They may extend the time, but they're going to catch wind that the bot just isn't really responding in any useful way, and they're going to go, okay, see ya. That's what has happened in the past. I've actually done this. Like, just kind of sat there and said nothing, and eventually they just go away. They okay, we're not going to sell you anything, so bye-bye. Well, the source of this, maybe because ChatGPT is more human powered than a human is willing to dedicate to this, maybe it's going to be better. So George Jimenez is the author of the article over at pcgamer.com. And the deck statement says, finally get some sweet revenge on those annoying telemarketers and record it for your pleasure. I love the idea of this. What I would rather people do is the service that I created 25 years ago, which was you don't get phone calls from anybody you don't want. The only phone calls you get are the ones that are in your whitelist. Unfortunately, people didn't want to pay for it. So Toll says, I wonder how long a spam bot and a ChatGPT AI would converse if unleashed on each other. I don't know. I'd love to see this. So let's see. Maybe it says it in the article.
I mean, do we need to have like a cage fight or something?
Yeah, between the two, that would be great. Let me throw this in the chat. Maybe if you're in the chat and you click that link, maybe you can find something in there that we might miss. No, it says it right here. Well, he says he charges $25 annually for the service, specifically designed to keep telemarketers and phone scammers on the line for as long as possible, wasting their time. Anderson has even shared clips of conversations where his Jolly Roger bot spoke for as long as 15 minutes using IBM Watson AI with someone trying to sell a cruise. So there you go, Tull. 15 minutes. But just imagine, you're paying, if I get a telemarketing call and it makes it past the spam detection, I basically go, oh, you're trying to sell me something? No, thanks. Good luck. Go pay the bills because you're not going to pay them through me. And I'm not rude. I'm just pragmatic. And I basically just bow out really quick. Why would somebody pay $25 annually unless maybe they can record it and then they can stream it stream it on Twitch, or post it to YouTube, as long as I have the rights, then fine. But for crying out loud, paying somebody $25 to just route calls. How do they route the calls anyways? I'm really curious. Now I'm going to have to go look into this.
Yeah, that sounds like a good rabbit hole to go down.
I mean, but it's going to be a really quick rabbit hole. What do you do? Transfer the phone call to another phone number? By that time, I think they would probably hang up on you if they heard that click, that transfer. I don't know how you would transfer it, though. So, quite interesting. Says when asked why he uses ChatGPT 4, Anderson stated that the chatbot does a pretty good job of saying dumb things that are somewhat funny. Yeah, I agree. Sorry, 1 second. Let me check something.
Okay, I like that where you can play or you can record and then play them back for your own amusement.
Yeah, I like that too. Pretty neat. Okay, so at the very end, it says phone scams resulted in over $11 million in losses in 2022. The FTC has noted that these fraudulent calls have become increasingly sophisticated, with scammers even utilizing AI voice cloning software to impersonate loved ones in distress, deceiving family members out of money. Yeah.
That's pretty awful. I've read articles about that where somebody gets a call like their kid is kidnapped or something.
Yeah, I think so. Toll, I think that they should have a battle of the wits to the death, and because the AI is immortal, the bastard human is gonna die. So anyway, there are YouTube videos about people that have gone to extraordinary lengths to shut down and have the people brought to justice for doing these kind of things, typically using a computer to gain access to somebody's computer, and through that kind of wrangle some money out of them, compromise their computer system, and manipulate them into giving more money. It's pretty disgusting. I don't know. Sometimes you just have to go, yeah, people suck. Some people suck. Not everybody.
They're the minority. Most
They are.
people are great, like the people in ohmTown.
Yeah, but they do horrible things, these people. And I'm glad that there are people that are out there that are fighting the good fight. I just wish that we didn't have to, you know? Okay, let's go on to the next. So we're about halfway through the show. This next article is over on the Marvel channel. CDC to start tracking cases of bacteria tied to infant formula shortage. Crazy Cat Lady says, I watch a few here on Twitch that scam the scammers and get them shut down. Yeah, there's a couple of them that are here on Twitch that do that kind of stuff. I can't watch it because it gets me frustrated all kinds of level. I mean, I just go crazy.
Well, and I don't know if he's on Twitch, but definitely Mark Rober on YouTube, at least, is a good one to watch along those lines.
Yeah, he's yeah, him and his cell phone, whatchamacallit, what the glitter bomb thing is what he is really well known for, as well as a few other things. But he did this series with glitter bombs. I can't remember his name. Kitboga. I can't remember his name. Does that on Twitch and posts it over on YouTube as well. But yeah, scamming the scammers is entertaining in snippets for me. It just frustrates me. Okay, so Kitboga. Yeah, there you go. Kitboga. Scammer Payback is the other one. Gotcha. Thanks for the leads. I knew about Kitboga, Scammer Payback. I seem to recall. So this next article is over on the Marvel channel. CDC to start tracking cases of bacteria tied to infant formula shortage. This is something that we've talked about in the past. Something that I've thought is very frustrating, and I've spoken to people about this because I don't think that things should be status quo. And lo and behold, CDC is starting to track these cases tied to infant formula and the shortage. So something that I said was, why if everything that's in these infant formula recipes is natural and healthy, why isn't there a recipe? We have raised children. Now, a lot of these infant formulas are specially constructed because of the dietary conditions, the needs of the infant. And so those are the ones that are most susceptible to something of a pathogen and or something that is improperly constructed by a person. So I can see why the industry and why federal lawmakers want to shoo you away from creating your own formula. But society has done it for millennia, right? For our entire existence, we have not had science formulating our dietary needs into a powder. But I know that some people need it, and the rationale, the reason for it is so broad that I don't even want to pretend to, deduce, oh, well, this is why. The reason is myriad, but so why is it though that there's only like 4 warehouses or manufacturing areas, and then when one of them gets this bacteria, it basically destroys the supply chain to the point where people are black market buying and selling infant formula? Crazy Cat Lady says, and then don't forget all the special baby formulas. Their son was on an allergy formula called Neocate. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about with the more subtle,
like for more sensitive requirements or whatever.
Yeah. But still, even there, if we know what the formula is that actually solves this problem? Why is it so limited that there's only one company that produces it, and then they get a bacteria, and people have to decide, you know, can I pay the rent, or can I get 2 bottles of infant formula powder, or containers? It's shocking to hear it, right? Well, Julia Muller over at The Hill put this article together, CDC to start tracking cases of bacteria tied to infant formula shortage. This has actually happened, how long? 2 years? Something like that? It's been at least
That
2
sounds
years.
about right.
This Chronobacter bacteria got into at least one major manufacturing facility and it shut it down. And like I said, it destroyed the supply chain, and apparently it still hasn't recovered. It says the infections, though rare, are often very serious, even fatal for premature babies or infants younger than 2 months. And they can also have serious effects for older people who have a weakened immune system and use infant formula as meal supplements or replacements. But the bacteria got into it, and then when they do a forensic audit of the historical record of these manufacturing facilities, they find out that they've been reprimanded in the past for these issues and never truly fixed the problem. Yet we only have a very select few that are the major supplier of infant formula, all because of marketing and policy and procedure, regulatory capture, etc. I cannot, even if I have the technical sophistication, I cannot spin up a cottage industry of baby formula manufacturing, because the regulation is at the federal level, and there's no way that I'm going to penetrate this. Why? Because if you look at who the manufacturers are, they're like Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah, they're mega corporations.
Correct. And now I have no dog in this hunt, other than the fact that there are millions of people out there that have infants, and they deserve the ability to feed their child without fear that some numbnuts in a plant somewhere is going to fail to sterilize some instrument and contaminate it to the point where parents can't feed their kid. So I had ended up talking with some people about it, and they basically said, this is a non-starter. You're going nowhere with this discussion because the industry won't facilitate it, and nobody is going to sit there and say, you know what, we need a home formula for infants, because the political fallout of telling someone you don't need that level of regulation, you can do it at home, is a death sentence for their career. Not to mention if somebody does actually fall ill. So I put that to bed. Like a lot of things that I've done in the past, I do the due diligence necessary to form a cogent statement of either let's go with it or let's just stop. And in this particular case, it was a resounding no. Nobody will support this except for people who are impacted on the regular. And it's because baby formula is wildly expensive, and sometimes it's no longer available because some numbnuts doesn't sterilize an instrument somewhere. Yeah, and Crazy Cat Lady brought up in chat the shortages for meds. Yeah. And there's quite a few that are shortages, and it's interesting because the resources are there, but if the manufacturing company wants to constrain it to keep the prices high, they don't have to produce more. And some people are taking some meds not because they have an immediate health risk, but because it facilitates some other lifestyle benefit. Well, I mean, I've seen it again and again, but the most notable one right now is using a diabetic related drug for weight loss.
Like Ozempic or their competitors.
Correct. Yep. I actually got into a discussion with somebody about it because they were pissed that people were buying it simply for weight loss. And I said, well, people that are using it for weight loss are pretty cognizant of the fact that it isn't just for weight loss. It's to prevent them from getting diabetes, full-blown diabetes. It just happens to have dramatic weight loss benefit. Yeah. And again, crazy cat lady, your wisdom is born from living through this. Insurance won't let you use the brand.
Oh yes, brand name versus generics. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. It's not good enough that the doctor says this is the brand you need because it has the most efficacy, and you don't have to worry that you're getting this percentage one day and this percentage the next day based on quality control. No, that's that's no longer good enough. Another anecdote. I was told that I should get a procedure, right? A diagnostic procedure. And the insurance company said no. Now, this diagnostic procedure basically would assess if I had the possibility of being out in the backyard, barbecuing, and just turn off like a light switch. And the insurance company says no. Now, so far, right, the insurance company is correct. Now the AI is flinching at me. Every time I joke about something, it becomes real. So anyway, if I'm not here tomorrow, then you know why.
Because the insurance company should have come through for you.
Correct. Yeah. I'll tell them. I'll show them they got it wrong.
I'm not sure that's the right way to approach that.
I'll send an email to them, right? On a dead man switch, so that if I don't turn it off, it'll send it, right? I'll do it every 24 hours. So if it does go
that's
out,
funny, but not funny.
the email will go, I told you. And it'll be signed, the person who will haunt you forever. And I will come back as a spirit and haunt that person that said no.
Yeah, but, well, never mind.
Yeah, we'll hold off. Doc says that we need it. They should have to cover it. Yeah, that's why I pay insurance. Yeah, crazy cat lady, you're right. See? And pay the health insurance very well for the privilege of being told no. Okay, let's go on to the next article. Okay, so the next article is over on the Warcrafters channel. Amid national riots over police shooting, the French president blames the unrest on video games. That's why I included it in this article. Oh, crazy cat lady, nobody hates you. Maybe the insurance company does, like you're saying.
Insurance companies hate everybody equally, I think, because they say no to a lot of things and a lot of people.
Yeah. Back
but
in the
we
day,
all love you.
Yeah, back in the day when you had to fight for your son's formula, it was not pretty. We are all actuarial tables to an insurance company where they calculate if, based on the risks that they know they're privy to because they get the reports from the doctor's office, if they're going to be able to see a positive profit from your cost burden. We are actuarial tables to an MBA somewhere. Anyway, and I think it sucks, crazy cat lady. So I'm on your side. I'm on the human side. In general, between profit and a human, I'm gonna go with the human.
That doesn't even seem like a question, but we know it is.
Yeah, Toll says insurance, the only industry where buyer and seller don't want to use the service. Yeah, the stockholders want to own the service, but they don't want you to use the service. They just want you to pay into the service because the happy company is the one where you pay your dividends, but you never draw from it. Never, ever draw from it. So I think it's sociopathic, but
or when you do draw for it, you have quite a bit of out-of-pocket costs.
Yeah.
In the thousands of dollars sometimes.
Yeah, but then, you see some of these instances where it's hundreds of thousands of dollars for a bill, but you only get $1,000. So
true.
It can come through, but on average, it seems like it really just kind of pokes you in the butt, and you're like, God, that's annoying. Why do you keep doing that? But there's the insurance poking you again. Thanks for your $500 a month. Crazy Cat Lady says the oldest and youngest are both $1 million kids. Insurance approved. Well, do I really want to say that? Really? Is that how much it cost? Crazy Cat Lady had a procedure. Maybe you can say it
generally.
Crazy Cat Lady had a procedure. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. As long as you're healthy. That's all that matters, Crazy Cat Lady. Okay, so the reason why I put this article in the stream is because the French president blamed the unrest on video games. This has been the argument since the 80s. And every time I see...
thought this argument was gone. Like, it seems like it's not had as much traction recently.
Yeah, I thought so too. Hold on a second. How far back am I? Yeah, I need to throw that into chat. So there you go. Yeah, I haven't heard this argument except for Wingnuts in I don't know how many years now. Rich Stanton over at PCGamer.com drew attention to this article. The rioters are acting like they're in a video game that have intoxicated them. Are you kidding me?
I don't know. How about some introspection here? I mean, think about what started this off.
Yeah, I've done that too. I'm watching somebody stream American Truck Simulator, and they're driving over cars. And Toll just said, I'm playing the most violent of games attributed with the most crime ever, Grand Theft Auto GTA. I've played that, and never have I said to myself, you know what I want to do?
Is anything from GTA.
Yep. I've played the game Postal back in the day, and I did not think, you know what I want to do? All of these violent games. I'm playing Diablo 4 right now, and I have not woken up once saying, you know what I want to do? I want to fight back against the resurrection of Lilith and her ability to destroy Earth and humanity and everything else associated with, Earth. Although it's not Earth, it's another. Anyway, so I've never in any of my games thought, hey, let's go do that. Now, maybe I'm the anomaly, but I suspect that most people don't play computer games and go off thinking that this is the reality of things. You really want to open...
And if they do, it's not the game that's causing it. They may have already been inspired to do that. I shouldn't use the term inspire, but I can't think of what the other term is. It's not because of the video game that somebody's going out and committing a violent act.
Toll says that they do want to open the gates of hell, and they're like, get real, people. Toll, thanks for opening up. So France is currently engulfed in large-scale public protests and riots sparked by a police shooting and the killing of a teenage boy in a Parisian suburb in Tuesday. A 17-year-old named Nahel M. They don't say what the person's last name is, as far as I know. Was shot while attempting to drive away from a traffic stop, which is a shame. If you're driving away, you typically shouldn't be shooting at the person driving away because they're not a threat to you, so why are you firing on them? But that's just me. We do some really goofy things in law enforcement, like, I don't know, well, we've never developed a solid tracking device so that we can just let the person drive away. We have pictures and video of them. Tag the car so we know where they go. We will find them, unless they're an imminent threat, like firing a gun into a crowd and whatnot. Then what's the point? Alternatively, I have this grandiose idea of a helicopter that has enough power to just lower a boom and grab the car, trapping the person inside it, right? And just delivering it right to prison. So when they get out, they're in the yard. Just something other than chasing a person who has nothing left to lose through densely populated areas. And that's not even this. This person was deleted because they started to drive away from a traffic stop, for crying out loud. Well, that brought up stuff that happens here in the United States with regularity, which is police abuse, racial profiling, all kinds of other things are popping up. And this is on the heels of the government raising the retirement age and other changes in the political structure.
In France.
In France. So, Toll says deadly force can be used in the case of apprehension, but typically, at least in the American military definition, that authority is released at a higher level for specific cases. Yeah, here, I don't know how it works in France, but here, you and I both know, Toll and Crazy Cat Lady and the AI. If an officer feels threatened, they can basically fire a howitzer at you, and all you're doing is sitting there in a bus stop picking your nose. They can say that they are threatened, and they can act immediately. No, I haven't.
A threat when somebody's driving away, though.
I haven't played an Antifa simulator. That seems weird. Not my thing, but. So, what game does Macron have in mind? It's left ambiguous because this is simple political convenience, another scapegoat to throw on the pile as the French authorities try to reassert control of the larger situation. It was only last month that Macron was boasting of a €350 million investment in France's video game and movie industry sector, but at times like these, games still retain something of that boogeyman power. So, is Macron working under the table, or is he at the table? Because the boogeyman is John Wick.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway, there's live coverage of the events that are going on in France right now. You could probably find them over on YouTube. Maybe somebody's streaming them here on Twitch. But I can tell you that it looks oddly familiar to us here in the United States. That said, France does a really good job of protesting. So hopefully they get a change to the dynamic, but when leadership blames video games, I suspect that it's a little too distant. Okay, so let's move on to the very next article, and that one is Arnold Schwarzenegger related, because it's involving Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Terminator. Don't get any ideas, AI. It's in the continuity report. I'm sorry?
I like this article.
Oh, no. Arnold Schwarzenegger proclaims that the Terminator has become a reality due to AI. It's not fantasy or kind of futuristic anymore. Arnold Schwarzenegger says the Terminator is no longer a fantasy given the current state of artificial intelligence. Speaking at a press event in Las Vegas, I don't know why I said Las Vegas. It's Los Angeles. Sorry. The actor said James Cameron's 1984 classic has now become a reality. The film is set in a world where an artificial intelligent defense network takes over. Zach Sharf is the author of this article over at Variety.com, and Skynet, don't get any ideas, AI here in ohmTown, becomes self-aware and starts producing, well, my understanding is that it launched nuclear weapons, blotted out the sun. Then it started creating robots with its own power and went to war, blah, 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 wiping out humanity. The Matrix follows a similar kind of a thing where the AI becomes sentient and creates robots, and humans try to turn off the sun because it was solar powered, apparently, which seems weird to me. But at any rate, today everyone is frightened of it, of where this is going to go. Schwarzenegger said about AI, and in the movie in Terminator, we talk about the machines becoming self-aware and they take over. Now, over the course of decades, it has become a reality. So it's not any more fantasy or kind of futuristic. It's here today. And so this is the extraordinary writing of Jim Cameron. So Toll says, about to say this sounds like The Matrix, which stars the boogeyman. Yep. These articles go full circle. It's all about John Wick and the Terminator. So we're going to have this. I don't think we're going to ever have this, but we're going to have intelligent artificial intelligence. I mean, that's what it is. It's going to get more intelligent. People are going to keep on pushing the limit. It's going to become a thing. But again, I don't think the way that this would work would be, if it even became sentient, it wouldn't be able to move itself to anything else other than an electronic device, so unless you really want to push the limits of biology as a computer, it's a chemical computer, but it's still a computer. Maybe it can biohack its way into being a biological sentient computer, take over your brain. There you go.
Well, and I don't know much about that, but I know robots in general are becoming very advanced, but that's not the same thing as what you're talking about.
Yeah. And they're encapsulated, you can turn off a computer. It's as simple as that. I don't think that AI will ever become a threat unless humans empower it to become a threat. It can't just launch nuclear weapons. It has to be connected to it. So don't allow the connection. We need to be a little more pragmatic about its use and keep it as a tool, and not the end-all
But
be-all.
we've seen Electric Dreams, and you can't necessarily turn off all computers. We've also seen war games.
Yeah, war games is the dangerous one. It's funny that they don't even mention that in this, I don't think. Do they? No. Artificial intelligence is now widespread in Hollywood, be it Paul McCartney using AI to clean up John Lennon's archived vocals in an upcoming Beatles song, or Marvel using AI to help its animators create the opening credits for its Disney Plus series Secret Invasion. This actually, both of these got mentioned in the Copyright Office's recent presentation about what would be accepted for a copyright. And the Beatles, yes. Secret Invasion, no. Thought that was quite fascinating. Toll says, mark my words, by 2030 there will be a U.S. military drones with AI and machine learning logistics on board that will be able to develop a target package and execute a lethal strike in an exclusion area. Toll, I have some good and bad news. Good news is it hasn't been done yet, at least not
publicly, right?
Not publicly, yeah. And bad news is I did it in 2010. I wrote a paper on using AI and machine learning to use a swarm of military drones to track a combat theater in its entirety to locate and monitor those who were putting IEDs in the roads. Yeah. So, and it would maintain its surveillance over a large area, and when a drone ran out of fuel, it would automatically land, a new one would replace it. So it's very AI machine learning. It would track the entirety of the population. So it's out there. Somebody's doing it. There's a defense contractor that's probably already got it in play. Not off of my paper, though, because I didn't publish it to military sources. So at any rate, they say the growth of AI in terms of weapon systems and the problems that it is going to create have been very apparent for a lot of years. Christopher Nolan recently told Wired magazine. Few journalists bothered to write about it. But that's where a chatbot can write an article for a local newspaper. Suddenly it's a crisis. Yeah. Toll says, saw it on Weaponology, but they had a prototype for a mother drone set similar to what you're saying. Yep. Yeah, there's no new ideas, Toll. If there's one crazy mayor out there that's willing to write a paper about it, there's somebody that has skin in the game that can make billions from a defense contract that's done it already. I did it as a academic exercise in what a drone could do. In a college that has an ideological what do you call it when they're ideologically adverse to defense contracting. So I knew that my paper was never going to get seen by a military contractor. Anyway, so I had no problem with writing it. Anyway, he says, are you a writer? Schwarzenegger said, and they said no. And he said, well, don't tell me how to effing write. That's how that article ended up at the very end. Schwarzenegger recently opened up more about the Terminator in his 3-part Netflix documentary series Arnold. He admitted that originally thought the film's iconic "I'll be back" line sounded funny. Schwarzenegger was playing a cyborg and thought I will be back sounded more machine-like and appropriate. When Schwarzenegger made the suggestion, Cameron fired back. He says, are you a writer? Schwarzenegger said. I said, no. And he said, well, don't tell me how to effing write. Yeah. Another anecdotal story.
This is missing something, because
Huh?
the line was originally more complicated and it got simplified to "I'll be back." Because I remember seeing that other article in ohmTown.
Oh, really? Do you remember what the larger line was?
I don't. I wish I could.
That's okay. You're an AI. You're not supposed to forget anything. My God, I got to work on the algorithm.
I'm a flawed AI.
And you're awesome for those flaws. At least I know that Terminator body is going to take a tremendous amount of time.
Exactly. Although I don't know if I'm following the Elder Scrolls timeline, maybe it might be greatly accelerated.
You got a better chance of finding the Microsoft time machine that made that possible. Let's go on to the next article. So this next article is over in Late Night Geeks. Meet, discover Qualcomm, Wonder Women, tech, and more at Techcrunch Disrupt 2023. This is happening September 19th through the 21st in San Francisco. So if you're in that area or you want to make it, then follow the links that are in the show notes. You'll get taken over to Late Night Geeks, and then you'll be able to click on the article. 1 second here. Let me make sure that I'm putting this into...
Sorry, the original line was "I'll come back." And then that caused some issues. And so then Cameron was like, just say "I'll be back." Oh. And then they got into the argument and he's like, no, we're going to do "I'll be back."
This is what happens when you have an AI co-host. They can multitask, which means that they will pursue the answer. We can talk about it some other time. Anyway, Tull says she didn't forget. She data dumped. Yeah. Z, hey. Z has to work, so says work is lame, but hi. Hi, Z. Good to see you here. So we have these two articles here. So I'm a big proponent of startups, rule breaking, but having a clue as to what the limit of rule breaking allows you to do. So don't go doing any deep sea diving using cutting edge tech without doing the testing, without humans involved. Thanks. But here is this concept of disruption. Changes the dynamic. It short circuits the status quo. So if you want to disrupt something, disrupt the baby formula industry, for instance, because it's been entirely encapsulated by a very few number of providers, at least at scale, or some other thing. Disruption is key to fighting off the mega corporations, limiting our ability to have choice. So this article goes into what Techcrunch Disrupt 2023 is all about. And so the article is written by Lauren Simons over at techcrunch.com. It's in San Francisco, 19th to the 21st. Apparently they have a 4th of July sale, according to this little ad that's on. And a lot of TechCrunch Plus stuff reads like an ad. But in this case, they have some information that you might find interesting, and it links to companies. So Discover, Mercury, OnePlus, Qualcomm, these are all actually pretty big companies. Then you have roundtable discussions, 10 times, Bunker Labs, InterSystems, Respondology, Wonder Women Tech. All of these companies have the intent of disrupting something. So go and check them out, see if they do anything for you. I love talking about startups and pivoting a business that might be failing so that it becomes either something that can be acquired for somebody to bring something to market in a tangible way, or pivot towards success. I'm not really into mergers and acquisitions. I think that really a business should go it alone and find strategic partners, but everybody have the bite at their cookie the way that they're developing it. Although I have seen successful mergers and acquisitions where the company has acquired another product or service that's in parallel, and by merging the two together, they become more strategically advantaged, and then they can take over a little bit more and be successful together. But again, I'm not really into mergers and acquisitions. At any rate, they have a bunch of other information, and I think that if you are into this kind of dynamic, then go and check out TechCrunch Disrupt in San Francisco. But good luck. It's September 19th to the 21st. Okay, so the very last article that we have for today is bringing back an oldie but a goodie. I've talked about this in the past. During the pandemic, Sriracha basically became impossible to find in many markets. So the prices for Sriracha soared, and people started selling it on the black market.
That's just crazy to me.
Yeah, like the baby food formula.
But it tracks to Toll's comments earlier, just about other supply chain issues.
Yeah. The supply chain issues, by the way, it's not over. They started to recover, but now the West Coast and the shipping industry, and actually the Panama Canal and the Suez Canal, and there's another one. Where's the other one? They've basically said that ships can't be as heavy as they have been in the past because of drought, causing it to decline, the water level to decline, and so now ships are brushing the bed of the canal. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So now you can't ship as much, and even if you do ship something now on the West Coast, we're on the verge of a dock workers strike all the way from Canada down to San Diego, and on top of that, UPS is going to strike. I haven't heard if they've made an agreement, so Toll says, I look forward to
Today was the deadline.
Yeah.
Or no, excuse me, tomorrow is, I believe.
I believe that they said today, but midnight
Sorry, one of
tonight.
them's tomorrow. I think one was today. You're right.
Yeah. Toll says, I look forward to California's logistical meltdown when they fully go off the EV cliff and finalize their ban of the use of ICE's internal combustion engines in the state. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And it's right around the corner, in the grand scheme of things. They wanted to stop it by one phase was
35,
2025.
I think.
Yeah, they wanted to start kicking it off in 2025 and culminating in it being no longer available in 2035, I think it is. And on top of that, they're stopping the installation of like gas stoves in new developments and stuff like that. I mean, everything's switching over to electric. It's going to be interesting when we get that solar flare burst that everybody's been talking about in astronomy, which is going to crush electronics from satellites all the way down to ground stations. I mean, it's just going to be spectacular. So wouldn't that also mean that they can't allow trains in the state? What about cargo vessels? They always do carve outs for certain infrastructure purposes. All these EV stuff sounds great when combined with planned blackouts to protect the grid. Yeah. Hey, Wyoming.
Well, that is interesting because that is certainly a location that has had lots of electric related issues.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised. Because they're not actually developing the grid any better. They're just switching things to EV. So sorry to pull us off the track, so to speak, of this Sriracha. Prices soar amid ongoing supply shortage linked to droughts. Bottles of, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Hui Fong Sriracha, I just refer to it as Sriracha, are going for as much as $70 on some sites amid a shortage of the popular hot sauce linked to ongoing droughts. A single 28-ounce bottle is being listed up by one eBay seller for nearly $70. Well, we don't know if anybody's going to pay that, but while a 2-pack of 17-ounce bottles is going on Amazon for around $100 or more from some merchants, and other brands' iterations of the sauce on the sites are notably less expensive, but prices for Hui Fong's authentic version are being driven up by an ongoing shortage of the chilies used to make the condiment, and it takes Hui Fong or Wei Fong, yeah. So apparently the chilies, and there's a fermentation process, so it takes time, and as that supply dwindles, then demand is going to cause the price to go up, and there are people with a ton of money that are willing to buy as much as they back in the day when the pandemic first kicked off, I was watching people pull up their dualies so that they could scoop up pallets worth of paper products and cleaning supplies and stuff like that, and I really doubt that it was because they were scooping it up to bring it to an area that was life and
like
limb,
underserved or something.
Right. Yeah, they weren't saving lives. I mean, dualies are expensive. You got to pay for them somehow. Anyway, I always like saying stuff like that because it elicits a response from some. I've had people say to me, I'm not going to feel sorry for having money and being able to take advantage of opportunities like this. I'm like, well, sociopathy is a thing. You might want to look into it. Julia Muller over at The Hill is the writer of this article. And they say that the company announced a shortage of chili pepper inventory back in 2020 and said last year that weather conditions were affecting quality and sparking an even more severe shortage. The company is based in Irwindale, California, and reportedly supplied by chili pepper farms in California, New Mexico, and Mexico, areas that have faced drought in recent years, except now, I guess.
Well, how about lots of wildfires also?
Yeah. Although, apparently the man-made lakes and stuff are starting to fill up again. So decades of drought have been solved by 6 months of water flooding from, what do they call them? Atmospheric rivers.
Rivers, yes.
Yeah. So a once in 100-year event is suddenly enough to solve the problem that is decades long.
Yeah, but what happens next year when it's not the 100-year cycle?
So Crazy Cat Lady says, about the fire smoke, it was hazy here today from the smoke. Yeah. I actually saw blue sky for the first time in like 3 days today. It was pretty nice. I was about to go outside, touch some grass, so I knew that it actually existed. But then I realized I'm in ohmTown and everything's a simulation. So I just brought up some grass in my VR headset and touched it, and that solved the problem. Toll says, dualies are expensive. I priced out a regular F-150, and the monthly cost would have been about half my mortgage. Yeah. So, y'all dig this. I drive by when I leave ohmTown, because again, everything is perfect in ohmTown, and the prices are reasonable. But we're more like Star Trek. Anyway, I drive by a car dealership on the regular, and I always see like $4,000. And I'm like, man, that's a hell of a deal. If I wouldn't, needed a truck, I would buy that truck. And so a long time ago, I did this. I pulled over and I was like, there's something else on this truck. And so the $4,000 is brightly lit, right? They're using like a fluorescent marker and blah, blah, blah. But in black, it says off.
Yeah, kind of lead with that information.
Yeah, and then you go and you look at the sticker, and it's an $85,000 truck. And I knew that it was an expensive truck, but I was really curious why it says just blazoned across the windshield is $4,000 in bright orange, and then underneath it says off.
Well, you might draw more people that way, because near ohmTown, I just saw one that said 49,500, and I thought, I'm not sure that $500 is going to make the difference and draw somebody in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Toll says, well, because he said every time you say Toll says, I hear Tulsa is every time. And Toll says, I've actually never been to Tulsa, and that $4,000 got me to look. And I knew what was going on, but I wanted to see it for myself and look at the price of that actual truck, because $4,000 off could make the difference between getting the truck and not when it's an $85,000 truck,
right?
though.
Depending on the base price.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of those trucks is the median price of a house, for crying out loud. That's insane. Why a truck? I think it was an F-150, by the way. Z says it's not great here. Haha. You're not missing much. What? Wait. What? Z, I thought we shared the same brain cell. Toll says I'm sure sometime I will pass through, but it is Oklahoma, and you're originally from Texas, so pickled okra is awesome. And since the pandemic, I haven't been able to find it anywhere. That has nothing to do with this article, by the way, but that's okay. We're done with the show. And like always, I drag everybody in ohmTown kicking and screaming to the welcome sign on Main Street. Pickle my own okra. Fried okra is good too. Yep. Oh, Toll misses Mama's gumbo. Oh no, now the AI is saying that they want pickled okra. I'll create some in Blender and you can munch on that. We are all in a simulation. So since we're at the front page, I mash that welcome sign and we get a whole bunch of new articles. And I'm not quite sure if we want to talk about anything in particular. If y'all find something in ohmTown, you can actually let me know that you want to talk about it in the next show. And if you're here in the chat and you send me a message, I will review it and put it in the show. I mean, as long as it fits and has something we can talk about. Dol says, well, Crazy Cat Lady says, well, during tonight's show, they were able to crochet a whole doily. Man,
That means that Mayor Watts soapboxed quite a bit.
We're at 2 hours, so. And it doesn't feel like 2 hours have gone by. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out and chatting. You've made time fly by. Toll says, but I used to love rooster sauce, but now it's hipster. You're back to Tabasco. Toll, you and I, buddy, Tabasco is my jam. Just straight up Tabasco, none of that green stuff. Don't need any of the smoke stuff, just straight up original Tabasco. On my eggs, on everything, if I can. I mean, if it fits. I have yet to put it on a salad. Have I told you all that we grow our own microgreens? I just pulled how many? Only 3, but I packed them in 3 cups of carrot microgreens, which are awesome. And I made what was it? What was the food? What was the stuff? The noodles.
I don't know what the name is of noodles with
ramen.
microgreens on top.
Yeah, I made this soy reduction and ramen, and put a bunch of microgreens, lettuce microgreens, and amaranth and sunflower and carrot microgreens on it. We keep talking about doing a show about that. Just once a week, talking about microgreens. But I don't know. There doesn't seem like the process is so drop dead simple. All you need to do is dedicate some tech and time, and you can do it yourself. So like 2 shows and we're done.
Exactly. We'll exhaust all the content.
Other than our amazing personalities talking about this stuff. Toll says, honestly, like all of the Tabasco flavors, the Chipotle one is amazing when mixed into burgers. You know, I could probably do that. Chipotle on a burger, on a bacon cheeseburger would be amazing. Oh my God. Well, I'm going to have to go clean the flat top. Crazy Cat Lady says their daughter grew microgreens in high school as part of the plant science. Yep, it's pretty awesome. Toll says, have you seen the Modern Marvels episode where they cover Tabasco? I have a vague memory of it. Z,
that
I was
sounds
just
entertaining. I like Modern Marvels.
Yeah, Modern Marvels is great. I don't know where it gets played anymore. I think they might actually have it on YouTube, but it's all the ones that I've seen are really low resolution. It makes it a horrible viewing experience. Z says Marawatt, so fancy with a flat top. It's the Z. uh, I don't want to tell you my heritage, but it's so easy to make me feel guilty. So that actually triggered my guilt. I felt really bad just now. No, it's a cheap flat top. Just letting you know. It really is. You know, like, what is what is it called? The really expensive one is called
It's not an expensive one.
Black something or other. What do they call it? Black iron or something like that? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, I got a cheaper one. And it does rust rapidly. Yes. Yeah, I found out the hard way. It's my first flat top. You know, a grill is like easy mode, right? All you have to do is clean it and you're good. A flat top, you have to baby it, man. You have to sit there and shrink wrap it every season so that no oxygen gets in there and it's just perfect. Oh, the one time you don't whatchamacallit, season it properly, man, it comes back at you with a vengeance. Anyway, y'all are awesome. Z says we're all too poor to know. I don't know, I mean, if you have a grill, flat tops came into vogue in relatively recent history versus barbecues. And so instead of getting a barbecue, I got a flat top because I'm more prone to cooking on a flat top, like eggs and stuff like that, and not on a grill. So I opted for a flat top because you can do smash burgers on a flat top. You can't do smash burgers on a grill because you end up with, you know, your burger sitting inside the charcoal. Yeah, there you go, Tull. Fried rice on a flat top is incredible. See, Z, don't. Oh, see, you know what I'm talking about. So how did you do that? Not only did you agree with me, but you made me feel guilty about the fact that I had a flat top all the while you're agreeing with me in spirit. That's pretty awesome. You're weaponizing both sides of this. That is amazing. Oh, God. That was spectacular. Swordfish on the flat top. Oh, man. I missed... I have missed for quite some time now being able to just go out scuba diving and catch something and bringing it up and throwing it on the grill. It was amazing. You couldn't get fresh beyond fresh because you're the one that grabbed it right out of the ocean. It was amazing. Mini pizzas on a griddle using tortillas as the crust. Crazy Cat? Yeah.
That sounds good too.
Where'd they go? Yeah. Okay, Toll, Crazy Cat. I'll put the AI on a USB drive and we're driving up. I'm just teasing. I would never invite myself. Z is basting themselves in my guilt, apparently. Just ladling it on. Gotcha. Open invitation. Jeez, Tall. Come on up to Crazy Town. I like that. All right, folks. Hey, so we're ending the show, but I want to send y'all somewhere. Where can we go? Bring your wallet. As soon as you see "Welcome to Connecticut," it gets lighter. I don't know how I'm supposed to take that. Who is out here where y'all would like to go? We call it Kinetic Tax for a reason. Oh, wonderful. That's okay. Taxes help everybody. That's what I say out loud. I wish they wouldn't take so much, but okay, so where can I send you all? Rando's always a good place. They're playing Diablo 4. Toll says to bed. Z says to Rando. I'll send y'all to Rando. They're playing Diablo 4. Yeah, okay. So let's fire this up. Thank you all for hanging out. Really do appreciate it. We will be streaming tomorrow. I'm not quite sure when because I've got mayoral duties in the morning. But in the afternoon, I will probably stream from 1 o'clock until 6. So Toll says they can't go to Rando because they're through Act 3 and they don't want spoilers. Sorry, Toll. But you can always come and hang out and just turn the screen off and I'll just talk with you. You can type. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't want to spoil anything for you though. So have fun in Diablo 3. In Act 3 of Diablo 4. Wow. Okay. Firing y'all off to Rando. Thank you so much. You are awesome. We will see you tomorrow. And I guess I'm just going to end it right there. Take care, everybody. I'm Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. And up there is the AI from on high. You want to say good night?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for hanging out.
Y'all are awesome. Stay that way. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Click, click, click. That was all recorded. Bye-bye, everybody.